What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Sith Council. We are one day away from Thanksgiving, so thank you very much for coming on in and joining us on this finale discussion for Andor, man. What a season it was. And we'll talk about it in depth. Full spoilers, obviously, with myself, Mike, and Steph. And because of the holiday, for audio listeners, it's not going to make a difference. But for people watching, we're doing a remote. I'm the only one in studio today, but Mike and Steph will be joining me in just a moment. We'll be talking about Andor, the finale. So again, full spoilers. There's rumors now that Bob Iger is in. Everyone's saying that Kathleen Kennedy is not going to extend past her contract. Is it, or maybe no? Actually, excuse me, or might be leaving in the summertime. True, false? Jeff Sneider on John Roca's show the other day broke a scoop and said that they have the next 5 years of movies planned out, or within the next 5 years they're going to start really mapping out their plan. So we'll get into that report for sure. There's some other things, man. You got the fact that they're going to ramp up that slate in the next 5 years. That's interesting. John Kasdan said that he wants to do a solo sequel. Yeah, me too. No, not really. Of course he wants to do it, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk about that also. That and more on the show today. It's gonna be a good one. We got a lot of stuff to discuss, talk about. Before we even do it, have you been listening to us on Spotify? Well, you should follow us on Spotify. It helps out the show tremendously, and obviously Apple Podcast as well. The Patreon, a lot of fun on the Patreon Q&A yesterday. Only supposed to do like a half an hour, and we end up always doing like over an hour with PLD and a bunch of people coming in. And if you're a $10 patron, you can join the stream with us. Speaking of joining the stream, I have this 9 spots a month where I talk to people one-on-one for like a half an hour. It's a lot of fun. So hopefully you come on in and join that if you can. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, that's me. It's an old logo, but whatever. You get the gist. Come on in. Join us. And if you haven't bought a shirt yet, Sith Council's selling like a hotcake. But then a Top Gun guy.
The Top Gun guy?
Yeah, the Top Gun guy. That's doing well also. Well, not really, but it should be. All right. Anyway, let's get into the Sith Council. It's me, it's Mike, it's Steph. It's all of us. That's why we're doing the show. All right, Sith Council, here we go.
I can feel your anger. It gives you focus, makes you stronger.
Welcome back, one and all, Sith Council. That's it. It's the finale. We got Steph.
Hello.
Yo. Man, you had a low-key entrance there today. You all right?
The energy was? Yeah.
I can't see you. I can't see you. Normally I can see you.
You can't see me?
Well, I mean, I can't, I'm not in the room. I don't feel the energy.
Oh, well, good
lackadaisical. A little just chill today, huh?
Lackadaisical?
What's up?
I don't think that's the word.
Lackadaisical. That's a word.
Well, yes, it's a word, but I don't think it's the appropriate word.
All right.
Lackadaisical means there's no
Each
effort.
their own. Shut the hell up. There it is.
Nice hair. Welcome back, everybody, to the show. And we're going to be talking about Andor and not just the finale, obviously, which we'll get in depth with, but we'll also talk about this series as a whole. We'll go into these other stories that I mentioned up top. But Steph, let's start with you, man. What'd you think of the finale? Did it deliver the way you hoped it would? And what's wrong with your quality of your video? What's happening there?
Is it bad?
Pixelized.
Oh no.
Oh no, but I can hear you. But I can hear you.
No.
They don't want me to talk about my favorite show of the year, which I can now say that it's over full. It was exceptional finale. It did everything I needed it to do and more. I'm so happy with my life that I live in a time that this show came out. I really am. Talk about gratitude on Thanksgiving week. This is one of my top.
It delivered, and then some. Mike, how did you feel about the episode?
I liked it. Well,
that's lackadaisical.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But I'll give you my honest reaction. The minute the final credit roll, or not the final, the first credit popped up.
Oh.
Yeah, not the post credit, just the first fade to black title card. I was like, that's it. I knew this was going to be not a big wrap, like not a wrap up. Like we kind of talked, like Ferrix is going to be done. We knew that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just felt that it felt like every other Disney Plus show, like they had so much to wrap up, and it felt like we got to tie up everyone's loose end to continue. So like everyone got their little vignette. But I feel like if you knew you were getting a second season, I don't think you needed to do all that. It's hard to explain.
I kind of hear you.
It got exactly what we knew it was going to do. Ferrix, big battle. Cassian's kind of galvanized into the rebellion.
Yeah.
Like it hit all the notes, but it's like everyone got their little beat to do it, and we knew who everyone was and wrapped up, and just like I felt a little rushed on, like, especially the Mon Mothma stuff. I'm like, she was just like, I'm not selling my daughter off, and the next time we see her, like,
she did.
Oh,
I can understand. I think it's a good point with her.
Like, and then the husband's like, you're gambling. So that's how she's explained the 400 million credits or whatever are gone. So it's like they just kind of rushed that with her. I liked it, but it felt so rushed. It was like the last time we saw her, she wasn't doing it. Now she's selling off throwing him under the bus, and the wife, they're showing up for the thing. It just felt like, hey, we got to wrap this up. Here we go.
I think that the point of the Mon Mothma, I think, is valid. I think that from what we saw of her last time, where she didn't really want to do it, and they haven't built into it as much to where she finally just. I mean, I guess the last episode with Val, she was like, Val said to her, she's like, you're not thinking about doing it. She's like, listen, I got to make a lot of sacrifices. So I think that was kind of the lead up to it. I don't think it was as rushed as you're making it out to be. I definitely think it was rushed in a way that maybe you could have had another scene or two, but I like the mention of Canto Bite, even though I hate that part of the movie. But I like the mention of it because it ties everything together, and you kind of, she's like, if you want to go being a gambling schmuck, go do it on Canto Bite. Get the hell out of here. You're an embarrassment. And everybody's listening in on the conversation and all that, and it plays into it. But what I really liked, I loved the episode. And the reason I love the episode also is what I said, is that what this show has done very well is that it's been predictability sometimes on purpose, meaning you all know that prison break is going to happen in the third episode of that arc. You just know it's going to happen, but you're on your seat kind of wondering, how is it going to happen? The same thing goes for, you knew there was going to be an uprising on Ferrix in this episode. You just wondered, how would it be an uprising? So the way that they played it and the way that it all tied together is what was so satisfying to me, because Andor, even though he is the main character of the show and had a lot to do, he's not the main focus of the he's every time there's a big action piece or there's a big thing, he's not always the one who has to be in charge of it. It wasn't about that. It was about his mom saying, rise up against these scumbags. And you knew Fiona Shaw was going to have another moment. She had to. And poor Pisspot finally, Pisspot. He's all upset and saying, oh, you're finally back. I'm gonna get to say hello. He's like, I know, but I rescued Bix here, and now it's on you.
Let me say this. And again, it might seem like I didn't like it, but I didn't. And every time I'm kind of not on the fence, but I'm, critical of an episode, it's leaps and bounds above any other show. Like, so the fact that I'm having issues with it is not saying I don't like it. It is it's least strongest episode is better than 90% of the television shows I watch, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. There's other episodes in this.
Like if we were to pick our favorites of this of the season, this is not it for me.
Yeah, but I think, Steph, to me, the reason why it plays so well is that I think that more so than any other show, it really plays like a full 11-hour film, and concludes with a big wrap up overall, that if you watch this, if you had, the 12 episode, however many hours it's going to take you to watch those 12 episodes, it's going to be satisfying because of the way it's set up in episode 1 with Ferrix and how it closes out and everybody kind of gets out and these things that wrap up and little conversations that are happening without. But what did you take away from it?
Yeah, I actually, the reason that I just think it was a perfect finale for this specific show is that Tony Gilroy he's made it clear that he's not like following any sort of Star Wars thing that we've seen before. And no patterns are being followed like we've seen in the past with other Star Wars movies and shows. And the point of this was to show like fascism rising and kind of just the human experience from all these different people. Like even from Cinta to Andor, they have completely different even though they're fighting on the same team, there's a different ideology. There's a different reason for why they're fighting this fight. And every character has a different reason for why they got into the fight, why they got out of the fight, or why they are on the Imperial side. And that's why I'm not bothered with showing every character, because it's just like puts the punctuation mark at the end of this beautiful essay that he's presented of how different humans are going to react in times like this.
Yeah, and I wonder, you know, as you mentioned Cinta, by the way, I think she had one of the strongest episodes for her so far. Like,
yeah,
what she did, and like, she's still, I mean, Val's still like, hey, you didn't say hello when you picked me up at the airport. She's like, what are you talking about? We have so much more important stuff to worry about, and I'm like trailing this guy from the ISB, and you're talking about how I didn't say hello. Give me a break. It's like I'm doing, and she's following this guy the whole time. And the only thing with that guy, by the way, the guy who's been like kind of undercover throughout, the ISB guy who's undercover, who finally, you know, gets shanked by at the end. The only thing with him, how undercover is he when the one guy's like, hey, arrest me, you know, and then he arrests him. It's like, how does he arrest him? He's supposed to be undercover as a member of
yes, totally.
He's
totally.
like, arrest me. He's like, didn't he just blow his cover?
No, that part I was like, huh, is he over the cover? Yeah.
Right. And then, but either way, and then you go into what Dedra's doing in this one. She's starting to lose it a little bit because she's getting drunk with power, right? And she's running around. She even has that conversation where, I think, Mike, I don't know if you said it last week, but we asked if we were going to see the, what's his face get captured or get set up, right? And we don't. The what's the guy's name that Saw was like, you don't think
Anton Krieger.
Oh, yeah. We didn't see Krieger.
Well, we did here, like, okay, so the thing I was not against in this episode, but also what I kind of love, I'm kind of torn on it, was the fact that we build up the Anton Krieger and we talked about, is he going to be a big actor? Is he going to happen off screen, the whole capture of his vessel in the fight? But I'm in the middle of a Bourne rewatch, and so Tony Gilroy very heavily involved with the Bourne films, and a lot of that stuff does happen, especially with Bourne in the later films. It's off screen. The people dealing with him, like all the suits and the CIA, where the action's happening. So it's very reminiscent of how he handles spy stuff, but it didn't bother me. I was like, I really want to see them captured and who Anton Krieger is, but that's not a big part of the story, and we don't need to see it. So it's like, it didn't bother really well.
It didn't bother me either, because I thought we were going to see it, but it didn't bother me because it wasn't necessary, because Luthen told us exactly how he was going to handle it, and that's how he handled it. He's like, he's got to be set up, and what they did, I thought that was the point of it, was Dedra calling in saying, hey, I would have liked to have been informed. Like, I know you would have liked to have been informed, but you weren't. And she's like, you know, but we could have had some live bodies there. He's like, yeah, I know, but we don't. So go figure out how to do it. And she's like, okay. And then you get creepy Cyril, who's been looking after her the whole time. And because he's looking after her, you know, he saves her. And the moment, Steph, did you think they were going to go to town on each other in that broom closet?
Oh my God. Yes. First of all, I was like, I really, you know, she's like my number one public enemy right now. I wanted her to die, but I was like, okay, like they're not going to have someone going out by being beaten to death in the streets. I think that's a little further than Tony Gilroy was going to be willing to push it. I think we got like almost there. Like the fact that she was even getting dragged, I was like, oh.
And Andor's putting his blaster to people's chests and popping them like they do in a Bourne movie.
Yeah, no, it was so, the culmination of it was so sick. But when she was like breathing heavy, I was like, okay,
they're doing it.
Yeah, she was, and then she's like, I should probably say thank you. And he's like, don't worry about it.
I got you.
He's like, gotcha. Yeah, those two weirdos are going to be together for sure.
What I love about her in that scene too is you saw the terror. Like she's so used to seeing being an outsider. Or looking down on these people, but the middle of it, she's like, "Oh, she's terrified. She knew she was gonna die."
Yeah, she was trying to fight, and she was just overwhelmed. And I mean, there were a lot of power. That's why I liked the episode. There were a lot of powerful scenes. Like there were tons of powerful scenes. Like you could just think about certain things that happened, and how about like this one? You know, like this was the scene that when
so good
when she's given this speech. And she's telling, and when Fiona Shaw, they bring her up and Pisspot's playing the images, and here she is, and she's just, and it's so gradual where she's just giving the speech about the things that she's done and how Ferrex, what it's meant to her and this and that. And then the Empire's like, should we let this go on? Like, let it play for a little bit. And then she's just like, The Empire's garbage. Kill them all. And you're
I
like,
should have done more. I should have done more. I did nothing, and you should do something.
And then they they turn over poor Pisspot, and they start going, and then all hell breaks loose. And what I'd said in my spoiler review earlier this morning was that this really redeemed the Stormtroopers to me again, because you remember in episode 4 when it first came out and New Hope comes out, and you watch that for the first time, the Stormtroopers are pretty scary. Like they just mow down Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen, and they're meant to be terrifying. Over the years, they've become more goofy. Like they can't hit anything, they can't shoot anything. Ewoks can take them out with rocks. Like, it's like they're not terrifying. They were terrifying in this episode.
Yeah, and they brought the Death Troopers back.
Yep,
they did. Like at least a scene, which I thought was cool.
Did.
Yeah, it's kind of like similarly to that. I think it was episode 3, maybe, when the TIE fighters flew over them, and it's like just like classic TIE fighters, but the way that they set it up actually brings more depth and like levity to it in a scary way.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that they did that a few different times, and like each. And the other scene that I thought was really powerful was when Andor first shows up, and Mike, I know that you don't study names as much anymore, but you're the one of the best out of the three of us. Who is the guy that greets him, that basically that tells him that his mom had a message for him?
Not Bennix.
Okay, but it's fine. But that's who we're talking about. So like
Adam Hlavik, I call him.
What's hilarious is that I was talking to Frank Janish. He's like, you guys don't know, you guys can't remember the names, huh? I was like, no, we don't care. It's like it's one of those.
Frank.
It's one of those things. It's like, hey, look, you tell us the names and we'll remember them when we do. It's like, that's my point. You know what we're talking about, right? So who cares? You should know the names. You should know the names.
I don't need to know the names anymore.
I'll know the names if I remember them. I'll know that's when I'll know the names. It's like when I remember them.
There's so many people.
He's like the only guy I don't know.
But he was
Bennix or Benenitz.
He was fantastic, and he shows up. And the most powerful thing of that whole, even though the speech that he talks about with his mom, the whole speech, that speech is great, and what she says is awesome. But the most powerful moment that worked for me was like the real embrace that they gave each other when he saw him.
That was a hug.
It was a real good hug.
He went in for that. Yeah, the thing that you said that. Normally people are hugging all the time, but you don't recognize, you don't notice it. Like
you felt it.
But then there was something different he did. It's like, yeah, that was something.
You felt it. Just felt you felt it when they show up. It was like these guys really care about each other. This is not just someone like, hey, okay, I'm glad you're safe. This is like, no, this is a love. And he's like, look, I knew you were gonna say this. Your mom knew you were gonna say this. Take it easy. Brasso, is that his name?
Brasso.
Like Matt Brasso.
Yeah.
hey, I'm gonna make some creme brulee. You want some creme brulee?
Hey, some creme brulee. It's a person we went, a friend of ours, so we went to school with stuff.
Like this, he was a chef. Creme brulee.
Creme brulee. But anyway, it's a guy like you. But either way, they have this really nice moment, and it's because of that Andor was able to get out, and he's about to get ratted out. And again, you talk about tying it all up. Remember the dude that he's doing the deal with in episode 1 with the alien rats him out.
Yeah. I like that juxtaposition of those characters, because everyone in Ferrix, with her speech going on, it's like you see how important the people to people community is there and how much there's a genuine love for them. And when they all planned to work together, like the idea that they're like, we're only going to allow them 30 people, which is like really what happens when a fascist regime is trying to be like, oh, we're letting you do this, but like it's still under deep control and it's so manipulative.
Yeah,
and
it's not even for real.
Yeah, it's not for real, but they're all working together. There's hundreds of them now swarming the street. And at the same time, the one guy who's not with the gang tries to snitch on one of the people, and then he gets shot or blown up, basically.
It's blown up. Yeah, he gets all blown up.
When you're not with the people.
Yeah, what you guys? We're gonna jump. We'll jump right into this one. Well, actually, before we do that, we'll go into this. I played this before. Mike was talking about it, like the end moment where, because Luthen's there to kill him. He's there to kill him, and they're trying. And nobody can get. And even says to him, he's like, you're here to kill me. He's like, yeah, you don't make it easy. He's like, and nobody can get a hold on Andor. They can't find him. He knows that place inside and out. Nobody can. And I actually really love that. Andor was never in trouble in this episode. Never. He was never in trouble. I mean,
he's on his home turf.
He was in his home turf. I mean, yeah, he was getting chased, and so he knew people were coming in. He got shot at like once or twice, but he was never really in trouble. Like, he got Bix pretty easy. And some people were like, oh, I would have liked to see a little bit more conflict. He's going to be in a lot more conflict. He's been in a lot of conflict. He was in prison for 3 episodes.
Yeah. But I like that.
Me too. Loved it.
Because he, like you just said, he's been in conflict the entire season, and he would have been in conflict had he just gone for the funeral. But instead, it shows his character development that he's like, as soon as he heard Bix was in trouble, it was like a course correction fully, and then that was his goal.
He knew what he had to do, and he knew also there was more of a purpose to it, and he knew, and what it was also going back to that conversation, had he not had that conversation and the message that he got, because that shows you how powerful her message was to the people, how powerful her message was to her son. She had a very strong episode because she came back to say, hey, everybody get it together, take over these turds, because it's time to rock. It's time to go. And
I want to make that my alarm clock. She's like, this happens when you're sleeping.
It's like it happened. It's just like, go move.
Wake up.
And, wake up. And they do, and they all bound together, and they're chucking bombs, and they're doing all these things, and it's like it was a very powerful scene. And then at the end, Andor, even so, when he's talking and he's like, okay, look, get her out of here. You guys go. I'll get to you. And even Bix says, he's gonna find us. And he's like, I'll find you, I promise. And out he goes. And then he's looking for Luthen, and he has that conversation. And Luthen realizes it, and he sees it. That's what's so good about Luthen, is he thinks on the spot. And he's like, nah, I can't kill this guy. He's like, look what he just did. Look how he avoided me. Look how he avoided the Empire. Look what he's doing. It's like, this guy, this is the guy. And he's like, and so right then and there that was his kind of initiation into the crew for real this time.
Yeah, I was like, what's Luthen gonna do all episode? They've done a really good job with Luthen as this character where you're like, he's such a gray area, and I never know what his decisions are gonna be. And he doesn't tell us what his decisions are going to be. Like other characters are more like outward with when they're talking to other characters. Luthen is like keeps it very close to the vest. So I was like, what is he going to do here? But then I like that you could see, like, because he's such a great actor, like, as soon as he just made that decision in his head, you could see the shift.
Yeah, he's absolutely phenomenal in this role. And it's just a bummer because both him and Bix, they can't survive season 2.
Yeah,
they just can't survive season 2. And so season 2, there's so much kind of lead up to it. And I'm excited for it because now this is where we would talk about. I texted you guys this morning. Had I not known in advance, I wouldn't have checked for a post-credit scene because they haven't done post-credit scenes at all this season. And then they do one. And of course we find out exactly what Andor has been building when he was in prison, and it's part of the weapons to that Death Star, and it's ultimately what he's building, the weapon that kills him. So I thought that was an interesting reveal at the very end, and it was a nice way for them to start to tie into Rogue One. I liked that they put it in a post-credit scene because I don't think that they would have randomly thrown it into the episode. It would have made any sense. I think that by putting it in the post-credit scene, you go, oh, that's the stuff that they were building. That's the stuff that cheap labor that the Empire has been using across the entire galaxy, and why they're able to build this thing.
But that's that like use of details from Tony Gilroy, that they're not just building BS. They're not just like, he's not just making it so they're building something in a prison and it doesn't mean anything. It's like always had a plan that it means something. And I didn't think about that. That's the weapon that ends up killing Andor, and he helped to build it.
He'll build it. Yeah.
Did you guys feel like? Did you guys know that that's what they were building at the time? It felt like.
Yeah, I felt like I think we talked about it.
I read a fan theory, and I loved it more than the Death Star. They said, what if they're building this, and then the parts are taken to like level 5, and they're being disassembled, and it's just this cycle of keeping these prisoners in this endless cycle of work. And I love that more so than the theory of the Death Star, but.
See, what a waste of someone should be.
But it just shows the Empire, just like these people are here in prison for no reason because they went against the Empire, and we're just going to work them to death for their life. All right,
but what's working? No, but working them for what? Working them just to work
because they can, because it's the Empire.
That's here's
the thing.
Stupid business plan.
I didn't need that post-credit scene. and it felt like the end of Revenge of the Sith, where they're on the deck and Tarkin is there for a second. He turns to the camera and walks away. It was like, all right, let's tie it into the larger world of Star Wars. Again, it's for me the whole no lightsabers, no Sith, no Jedi. I know the Death Star needs to be there, but seeing that scene, it makes me go, I hope we don't see Krennic.
Oh, really?
Because Rogue One and Andor's story with Rogue One, that is Krennic. I don't need to see them build to a confrontation with each other. I don't need to see Krennic working on the Death Star.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to detail.
This is Andor's story with Luthen and becoming a rebellion leader. I don't need that mission. I don't need
I think if you have too much of it, I agree. But I think having him in there to show that we're lead, because remember, the reason why I do think
it's there.
The reason why we should have the Death Stars because Tony Gilroy has always said very much so that the last episode of Andor season 2 is going to be moments before we lead into Rogue One. So I think that it just ties in, and that's why I liked it was a post credit. Just it was merely meant to show us that stuff that they were working on. That's what it was.
I know.
That's it. And I thought it tied into it pretty well. I mean, yeah,
I'll say this.
I don't like the idea of them just kind of working. Hey, we're going to treat these guys like rats.
Well,
Why?
you got your wish because that's not what it was.
That's right.
But I do think that post-credit scene was more for general audiences. I think Star Wars people in the world knew that that's what they were building. They're all building the Death Star.
Yeah, but
but it's
Yeah, but I thought
why they did it. It's just,
I don't think it was fan service though.
I didn't say it was fan service.
No, so Mike, are we now? I feel like every week we get more extreme with like you not wanting
anything.
And
and I got my wish. Not a may the force be with you ever in this show. Ever.
You will brace yourself, Buttercup, because it's coming into second season.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah, I mean with Mon Mothma.
Double down on that. And I say, no, we ain't gonna get lightsabers. We ain't gonna get Vader.
We're not gonna get no. We're not gonna get lightsabers. We'll get a may the force be with you. She says it in Jedi.
Who does? Mon
Mothma.
I don't care. That's Jedi.
Oh,
that's years later.
Oh, okay.
She's got to be worried about her daughter being betrothed to someone. She ain't worried about the Force and midichlorians, all that crap.
Steph was talking. Go ahead, Steph.
Okay, I just am like, we're watching Star Wars and you don't want to hear "May the Force be with you"?
No, because guess what, Steph? When we're in this world here, I don't go everywhere, and everywhere I go, I don't hear Merry Christmas every year in this little world that we're in because a lot of people don't say Merry Christmas. So not everyone in Star Wars has to say "May the Force be with you."
That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, what?
I'm gonna take some. I'm just gonna go to Mike's house, put a whole bunch of rocks, and then just say kick rocks.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'll kick them all the time.
Kick them all
the
day
with you. That's what I'll be saying them.
Well,
you just compared the Force to a secular religion.
Yeah, you really are.
It is a religion.
You're only grumpy little turd.
The Force is a religion.
You're a grumpy
turd.
It's
not a secular religion.
It's a religion, Steph.
All right, let's go over the entire.
They wear robes and they chant.
The entire season overall, we liked a lot, right? We thought
yes.
So
we did.
I would say, yeah, a really great show overall. Can't wait for season 2. And now we're going to get into Bad Batch, obviously in January. We get into Mandalorian in February, Ahsoka after that, Skeleton Crew. Now Andor season 2 is shooting now, so it is possible, although unlikely.
Oh,
thank you so much for interrupting my thought. Go ahead.
Because it's going to help you. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Finish. You just
Tony Gilroy talked about that this morning.
Oh, what did he say?
Read that? Where he said we're shooting right now. If it goes according to plan, like we did the first season, it'll be out in 2024. Give us 2 years.
Yeah, oh, cool.
Okay, so as I was saying, it's either going to it will either aim, obviously, unlikely at the end of 2023, but most likely 2024 is where if everything stays on track. Now, one of the things I was going to ask you guys is the K2SO. Now, this is something that a lot of people didn't even know that we did. So I want to show Steph and Mike, because there's no chance that they watch this. And I'm going to play this for you guys. This is about K2SO and Andor. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Right, hold on, let me play it.
What is this?
Wait, I see. Can you mute yourself, Mike?
Me?
No, I'm hearing playback, but maybe it went away. Okay.
Let's see. Hold on. Tell me if you hear playback.
Cleared out the entire schedule for you here today. You said something was weighing heavy on your chest. You couldn't sleep. It was keeping you up. What's going on?
I can't get away from this.
Okay.
It's everywhere. It's in the news. It's social media. It's people are taking sides and this person says this person says that, and I don't know where I feel about it, but I do know that I'm about to lose it.
Okay, right. Now look, I can tell you're very upset. It seems like you're not as calm. You haven't been using the apps like we've been talking about, obviously, because something is really bothering you, but you're being vague. I don't really know what it is that's bothering you, so please, if you can elaborate on the problem, would be a little bit more helpful.
Okay. I'll just say I don't think Tony Gilroy is going to properly introduce K2SO to Andor as it is in canon.
Whoa. Okay. Well, okay. Let's talk about this. That's a heavy accusation. You don't know that could be true. What? Can you tell me why you feel this?
Oh, come on, Doc. I mean, I don't even think Tony Gilroy cares about canon.
Well, you don't think he's paying attention to what's going on?
Yeah, I guarantee he didn't see the 2017 limited release in the comic books.
Okay, we're starting to break through a little bit. Can you tell me exactly what happens in that 2017 comic book run?
I would love to. You see, in August 2017, Marvel Comics released Rogue One, Cassian and K2SO Special 1. Although the title suggests otherwise, this was a one-shot that never received a follow-up issue, taking place at some point in the time between 2 and 0 years before the Battle of Yavin. The story begins with Cassian Andor being sent to the backwater planet of Wikako by General Draven to receive some Imperial security protocols. He was accompanied by Caertus and Rismore, two female alien twins who communicated with one another just by scent, although it later turned out that he could not only understand Basic, but also speak it. While Andor expected little Imperial presence on Wikako, he and the twins soon found out that the location where they were told to pick up the protocols was buzzing with stormtroopers and KX droids. Sneaking in through the sewers, they discovered a giant hall with an abandoned Star Destroyer. While the twins searched for the security protocols, Andor started looking for a way out of the base. Unintentionally trickling an alarm, he raised the attention of K2SO. Based on his primary programming, the droid tried to detain Andor and terminate him if necessary, as he continuously explained. Andor tricked K2SO and attempted to deactivate him, but couldn't find the kill switch until Caertus and Rismore came to the rescue. Andor's attempt to erase K2's memory didn't work out, and before the droid could make another attempt on Andor's life, he got deactivated again, followed by another incomplete memory wipe. Caertus convinced Andor that K2 held all the information the Rebel Alliance needed, and while she and her sister created a diversion, Andor and the droid, who was still unsure if he could help or kill the rebel, made a run for their ship. After it got blown up by the Imperials, the duo stole another vessel, thus escaping Wikako, and K2SO's intel could be extracted, and he could be reprogrammed to serve the Rebel Alliance.
Wow. Well, I mean, it was very informative, to say the least, but how do you know that Tony Gilroy won't honor the canon, Brett?
Well, in a recent interview, he stated that he was not interested in doing fan service and that he wanted to tell his own story.
Wow. Well, that's interesting. I mean, there's certainly a way to break that down. Well, all right. I have something I think can help, but I gotta ask a question that I think I know the answer to, but I gotta ask here. Brett, have you ever seen the television show Andor?
Not a frame.
Not a frame. Yeah, that was the answer I thought. Not a frame. Okay, why have you not watched even a frame? Do you not have Disney Plus?
Oh, no, it's been on pause in my Disney Plus, but it's just not something I'm interested in watching, because haven't you heard what people are saying about it?
I hear people are saying that it's very well written, well acted. It's the best Star Wars since Empire Strikes Back. I've heard some chatter.
Obviously, you haven't been on the hot new social media website Hive at Brett Sheridan.
At Kristian Harloff. Why? What would I find on Hive?
Well, people are saying that it's, it's boring and it's not real Star Wars. Come on, not my Star Wars, not my time.
Get up.
So there you go. There's the thing with me and Brett. You can watch that full thing.
That was really good.
Isn't Brett the Star Wars aficionado now?
That he is.
Oh my gosh, the way that I didn't know where it was going, and then it got like genuinely informative. It's like what?
That was the point, right? So like, and then with that whole thing, bringing that conversation up. Do we think that that's going to be how K2SO meets Andor, or are they going to do it completely different? Go ahead, Mike.
I think it will hit similar beats, but
so?
be different. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Mike?
Absolutely not.
They're usually very different. He's not
100%. They're not even going to touch that.
I'm leaning with
Gilroy.
you.
He ain't doing that.
I'm leaning with you.
He ain't doing. There ain't going to be twin aliens talking through scent. Nope.
I will tell you this.
Next question.
I will understand if that is the case and that he wants to do one thing. But wait. But here's the thing though.
Is that the caveat?
I will never take anything serious inside of comics or novels ever again. I'm not going to read any High Republic stuff. I'm not going to read any of that stuff, because it's like this isn't. It's not canon. If they don't, if that's not how it is, it's like don't tell people it's canon. It's a side adventure, and if you want to read for the side adventures, you want to have some fun on side adventures. That's just like anything else. It's like the same way the Joker is not part of the DCU.
Right.
It's like that's what it is. Don't tell people it's canon and then go, well, yeah, but it's canon until a filmmaker doesn't want it to be canon. It's like that's not how it should work.
Okay, but think of what we've gotten so far, and those clips you just showed from the comic book. Can you even see twins that talk through? They can't talk, but they through scent and the telekinetic fit in this world that Gilroy's given us.
Last episode, we got those two creepy aliens that I think
it ain't happening.
I agree with you. I'm just saying it could happen. But Steph, do you think
if this was Mandalorian, sure.
Right. You think there's elements, Steph, or nothing? No chance.
Yeah, I think there could be some elements. The two alien girls, I think probably not. That's like kind of really kinky actually for Star Wars in hindsight now that I'm hearing it from Brett's voice. But I think that in some of the like way the K2SO stuff, I feel like maybe, but I don't know. Maybe you guys are right that they won't. It is weird that they like do these comics and books that are directly related to the new stuff coming out, but then are like, no, but it's not related. Like,
right.
just do. Why don't they just do something else then?
Don't say it's canon.
I know they did this with oh god, I don't even see. This is how much I'm out of the schmoed. I didn't remember his name. Oscar Isaac's character. What was his name?
Poe.
Yeah. They did a whole story on his family. I want to say they've done a comic on Diego's character too. I thought Andor had.
Well, that was the one. That was what Brett just talked about.
But I don't remember Marvel or anything like that in the comic. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, but I think it was more about it's closer.
Him and the Rebel.
Yeah, and it's closer to Rogue One at that point. So it's.
But I could have sworn they talked about his family and his upbringing too. But
They did inside of I think it was
there was something
in Catalyst, in the novel Catalyst. They mentioned that his parents were separatists. They don't.
That's what it was. Yeah,
they don't really play on that at all. In this, so I don't. But that's not to say that maybe his original parents were separatists, and that's what we're doing. They were fighting.
I do feel that K2SO will be a plot point in the sense that. Not like in that where the droid, the plans were in him that they could have used. I don't think he's just going to be an assassin droid like at that beach scene and Cassian's going to capture him. I think he will be a plot point.
Yeah. Well, this was the conversation, and when people had asked, and I was doing, like I mentioned on Patreon, I do these one-on-one sessions, and this guy asked me, he's like, well, I think one of the reasons they can't adapt the novels is because the creators will be too pigeonholed to what canon is, what inside, is inside of these novels. And it's like, well, no, because there's a lot, the reason why is the same way that directors aren't pigeonholed when they do like Harry Potter. There's certain beats you have to hit, and there's things that you can elaborate on and push inside of that book, right? But the Tony Gilroy move, if he doesn't do anything along the lines, if it's like Steph said initially, where they have it's similar, but they changed some things up, but it has those twins in there, and they show how to do it. It's like, okay, it's similar, so they're sticking to the canon. They just move things around a little bit, and you're like, okay, well, that's acceptable to what happened with the comic. If they don't, they're pretty much saying it's only canon until someone says it's not. That is that we hired to make a show, and then it's like, well, why am I getting invested? That's why I bailed on this stuff so much earlier, because it was like, oh, so they're not really paying attention to any of this. Yeah. So, but anyway, okay, we got some other stories to talk about before we bail on you. But all right, let's talk about the first one. What do you? I'll let you pick, Steph. We have two big stories here. Now, there's either the rumor that Kathleen Kennedy is going to step aside, and the big shift with Bob Iger and everything too. That is a rumor, and another rumor is that Star Wars movies, the slate is set to ramp up in the next 5 years. Which one would you like to go?
Let's go to the slate.
Okay, let's go to the slate. And this is from our good buddies Jeff Sneider and John Roca on their show, the Hot Mic. They had Jeff Sneider made this report, and I will tell you about just a moment. I want to make sure we get a full screen here. And there we go. All right, here we go. This is from Star Wars Newsnet reporting on Jeff Sneider's report. So according to the latest rumor from Jeff Sneider, Star Wars fans won't have to wait long before the franchise returns in a big way to cinemas. After 3 years when it comes to Star Wars film news, it appears development on new theatrical releases has definitely picked up, and a solid slate could be ready in their near future if the latest word from renowned Hollywood reporter and scooper Jeff Sneider is to be believed. I like that. They give him the renowned title. Straight from John Roca's The Hot Mic Show on Tuesday, hat tip to Star Wars Leaks, the newest rumor claims that Kathleen Kennedy has the next few years of Star Wars figured out, including definite projects on the future. And here is, so they said, what does it say? According to Sneider, there's a lot of stuff coming down the pipe on the feature side at Lucasfilm to be excited about. As we all know, Lucasfilm made a strong pivot to the TV side of things in order to beef up Disney Plus, and those plans aren't going anywhere, with several new Star Wars series and seasons deep into development and production. But it appears that the studio knows there's a strong desire for more theatrical releases after a post-episode 9 hiatus that has been longer than anticipated. Remember that Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron was supposed to come out in 2023 Christmas time and is now undated. Whether this updated slate of Star Wars projects for the next 5 years or so includes theatrical releases, once things are back up on the feature side, we could be looking at 2024 the earliest. We don't know for sure. This could mean there's a strong roadmap in place for both the TV and theatrical side of Lucasfilm. As the general sentiment at Disney after Solo, A Star Wars Story, underperformed was that maybe they had released too many films too fast. However, many insiders feel like the marketing and release dates simply weren't the best, and believe the Star Wars could thrive in cinemas, putting it out in new installment each year. As it stands, and despite recent cancellations, we know at least 3 different films being in active development. Taika Waititi's long project, supposedly post-Rise Skywalker standalone, created by Damon Lindelof and Kevin Feige, and Michael Waldron's secret film, which could be the same that Sean Levy has joined. If that's not the case, and we're looking at 4 potential films in the future, 5 if Rogue Squadron comes back to life. All right, so the overall report here is that, we've got we've got them coming up with a plan, which is good news, right? Them coming up with a plan,
kind of connected to the second story, kind of, right? Do you think that?
Kind of.
Okay.
Maybe. It just depends. It just depends on how. If Kathleen Kennedy is indeed, like you remember, there was that report that there was this kind of war room going on with Filoni and Lindelof and all these people inside of the room, that you would hope at some point someone broke through to Kathleen Kennedy and said, we got to have a full-on mapped out plan of how we're going to connect everything inside of it, not doing trilogies and things, but connecting things in a way that the way that they do it with, whether it's Marvel or what they're going to be eventually doing with DC, and putting together these slates. Like, we got to try to do something like that, and we got to have an overall plan instead of just handing out movies to the next director that comes in. And maybe Maybe they broke through. Remember, we talked about that last week. So that's part one. We can get into part two once we hit that other article. But Mike, you hear this from Sneider that they're going to start ramping up a plan. I mean, it makes sense. You kind of you figure the flames got to be under Kathleen Kennedy's buttocks right now.
Yeah. But what? Like I'm befuddled.
Confused with the report?
Not even confused on the report. The report is the report. Like we
Yeah.
know they've been ramping up movies.
Right.
Every time we come out, they're throwing out a movie with the director.
Right.
You know, and Star Wars isn't the MCU. It doesn't connect in that way. It doesn't, we don't, like Feige's got his war room with this wall of things that connect everything. That's not Star Wars, and it doesn't need to be Star Wars. We just need
I don't
a director with a great movie, and Star Wars fans will show. I think for Star Wars, just get a great movie that doesn't connect. Make it, you put Star Wars in the title and make it great and exciting, and the fans are going to show up for it. The general audience will show up. They don't need to connect it to Andor, to Mando, and Boba, and just give us Rogue. That whatever happened with Rogue Squadron, whether it was announced after Wonder Woman 84 got the bad response to it, that was to seeing what we got with Top Gun Maverick, and it could have had that in Star Wars. I mean, come on. So this whole thing, I don't know, dude. I don't know.
But I think that's the problem. I think that you're right in theory, where it's like, hey, if you can just get a really good Star Wars movie with a great director and a great script, similar to what they're doing with TV. They got Andor. They found Tony Gilroy. He put together Andor, and then they had Filoni and Favreau, and they put together The Mandalorian, and it worked in TV. So why can't they do that in movies? The problem is that strategy has not been working for her, because she's moving and she's trying to do that. She's tried to do that a few times. She tried to do it like, we got JJ, and JJ's going to everybody loves JJ.
But look what they did. Boy, we're going to do the trilogy. We're going to bring all the crew back from the original Star Wars films. And like, you were never going to make everyone happy with that. Then it was like, we're going to do Solo. And everyone's like, who the hell wanted Solo as a film?
Right.
Rogue One was the one that turned out good. All the 5 films that came out, Rogue One was the one that was like, even then it was kind of like, what? Well, we know how it's going to end. Why are you telling the story? But you attached a great filmmaker to it, or we don't know who the filmmaker ended up being. And it was a great story with great characters. Like the sequel trilogy was a losing. Like you weren't going to please everyone with that thing.
I know, but they also
had their ideas of what you wanted Luke to do, and Han to do,
but there were mistakes. There were massive mistakes made.
The fact that you didn't have all your 3 characters back together once on screen together, that's a problem.
Right.
And if Jeff is saying in his article where like they've got leadership that is going to fix it, so they're not doing stupid crap like that again, great.
I hope. Well, Steph, what do you think? Because what it seems like to me with this is that before the announcement that Iger was coming back, the rumor is that Chapek was really leaning on Kennedy, going, what's going on? Like we need a Star Wars movie. Like what's happening? And then when you have that much pressure from the head honcho, you got to start sweating. So I'm sure that put it into perspective. Like we got to start putting a plan here. We need movies, and it's not just going to stop because Iger's coming back and they're buddies. It's going to be like, okay, we've got to, like, the plan for feature films on Star Wars has, as Mike said, been put into production. But I absolutely think that they do need a plan, because the problem is of them putting together these potential stories. Let's say they go 5 movies, like everything that report said. Well, we're giving Taika a movie, and we're going to give we're going to give Taika a movie. We're going to give Lindelof a movie. We're going to give him a movie. We're going to hope that they're all good. But if we get 1 or 2 that's good and they're not connected at all, and there's no storytelling, we're just kind of throwing it all up in the air and hoping. That's their problem. That's what they have been doing. And by doing that, it's been a nightmare. I think that what they could do, because they have such a massive lore, and I know that I get blue in the face talking about the Old Republic, but even if it's High Republic, but setting up TV shows, movies, connecting it, mapping it out of like, this movie will come, like the way that they're doing with like with phase 5 and 6 in Marvel. They map out, they put out the Secret Invasion, and then that ties into this. I think they have a little bit too much right now. But but Steph, sorry, but go ahead, please. What your overall thoughts on this?
I think that to me, it's a good sign that we're hearing more of these. We're gonna get a plan together, because even though it is a lot of the same, I do think that they're getting the message that everyone notices. Like everyone's noticing what you guys are doing. It's not sly. Like you've announced all these movies. Maybe the first 3 times we swept it under the rug and we're waiting, but now it's like the entire industry and the fan base is like, this is really not organized in a way that like you have a direct comparison on the same streaming platform is just executing in a way that's, and DC is executing movie wise in a better way than Star Wars. And that's crazy to think after all the years DC is trying to get it together, and in the wake of all their drama, it's like they don't have an Ezra Miller situation. So it's like, what, you guys got to get it together.
Because DC is doing what we've always talked about. DC is doing what they like. It has what they've been looking for a while. DC said we need to put people who love this stuff, who are good at putting this all together, who want to talk about it all the time, who can get the people in the room that can talk about it all the time, who are good at business but good at the creative and put it all together and able to establish teams. DC has that now with Safran and Gunn. They didn't have that before. There was nobody. There was like they had just the executive levels making these decisions, and it wasn't working. That's the problem with Star Wars right now. You have a really good producer in there who's also puts her hands in a lot of the creative stuff. Sometimes she does not love Star Wars. She just doesn't, and that's not a bad. I mean, and when I say love Star Wars, not that she doesn't love the property itself, but she doesn't like. She's not going to talk to you. She has no clue how Cassian Andor and K2SO met in the comics, right? And now, is that a requirement? Not necessarily, but I think that you do want to get to, and I think that Filoni's too much on the creative side to be able to run Lucasfilm. I think that there's got to be a balance, and whether or not it's two people like a Filoni and a Favreau running it together, that'd be pretty fun. That'd be pretty interesting to see how they would do that overall. I mean, I think they've made some mistakes on the TV side also, but I think in the overall they've delivered, and they present the lore the right way. But I think, and we can just get into the second part of this. This is the rumor and the story, and this comes from the direct. Let's read this and let's see, because after they had this big report of Iger coming back, they said that Disney is now planning to remove Star Wars boss Kathleen Kennedy, which is, again, in big parentheses, a rumor. So after 10 years in the position, Kathleen Kennedy's reign at Lucasfilm is rumored to be coming to an end at the end of 2023. Kathleen Kennedy has been president of Lucasfilm since 2012, when George Lucas sold his company to Disney for $4.5 billion. During her time as president, Lucasfilm has produced 5 live-action Star Wars films and began a television era for the galaxy far, far away on Disney+. A decade into Disney owning Star Wars, and fans have a mixed reception of the generation of the franchise. Many are critical of how the sequel trilogy turned out after a divisive sequel in The Last Jedi and a genuinely disappointing finale with The Rise of Skywalker. However, there have been high points, including Rogue One, The Mandalorian, and Andor. After years of chatter that Kennedy may not last as Lucasfilm president, a new rumor indicates that her time might be done sooner rather than later. Okay, it's Campea said this. Campea revealed on his live show that his sources have indicated that Kathleen Kennedy will be removed as the president of Lucasfilm either before the release. I didn't know this came from John. Before the release of Indiana Jones 5 or shortly after. So John says, this is what I've heard. I've heard that the decision to remove Kathy Kennedy has already been made, and that she will be gone either sometime before or very, very shortly, therefore the release of after Indiana Jones 5. Now, I want to be clear. I cannot independently say to you and confirm to you that this is a fact. I will say that one of the two people that have contacted me has 1,000% average on the things they've informed me of. This, in turn, would mean that a new president of Lucasfilm would oversee any future Star Wars projects, including the next film set to release in 2025. For revealing what the sources had told him, Campea explains that he previously thought that Bob Iger's recent return as the CEO of Walt Disney would help. That's what he told me. He called into the show the other day and we talked about it, and this is exactly what he had said, and would stay as Lucasfilm president until her contract. I had a lot of people write in and ask, now that Iger's back, do you think that means Kathy Kennedy is gone? And a lot of people write to me on the social media in the comments writing, asking exactly that. And my response was, well, no, if anything, it's the opposite. Bob Iger has traditionally been a Kathleen Kennedy ally. And with Bob Iger coming back, I have a feeling it would entrench her even more, and she would still probably stay to the end of her contract. I mean, I've said for a while, I don't think she lasts beyond the end of the new contract. I think she's out either by shortly after 2025. I do think she needs to move on. I've said that for a long time, but I think Iger coming back only entrenches her here. Let's see, there were 2 separate sources. So sometimes I'll say something on a show, and then, like in the case of Edgar Wright, I will get contacted by people in the know that would say to me, hey, you said this, it's a great show, but you're wrong. I will tell you this. Last night, in the last 14 hours, I got an email from somebody very connected, and then this morning I got a call from somebody even more connected that got in touch with me. 2 separate people independently got a hold of me and said, John, your Kathleen Kennedy is going to be more entrenched than Iger's in. Oh, John, Kathleen Kennedy is going to be more entrenched than Iger's in. I'm like, yep, you're wrong. I understand what they're trying to say there. Anyway, okay, so there's a lot there, obviously, a lot there. Let's talk about it, because when this report of Iger broke, John's been pretty vocal against Chapek for a long time, so I wanted to talk to him about it. I called him and we spoke about it, and he said exactly that. He said, because I said, I can't imagine that this is going to hurt Kathleen Kennedy. I think this is going to help Kathleen Kennedy, because her and Iger have such a good relationship. I don't see her finishing. I don't see her going past her contract in, I think, 2025. But I think she sticks it out. And he said exactly what he said in that report. But then I guess he's getting reports from people, and he's got sources inside there that he's not just going to say these things, and if it's not potentially true. I don't know. I still think she's going to stick it out for her contract. I think after this report from Sneider also that she's putting together these plans, I think she sees out a couple of these movies, and then I think she walks away and she gets another high-profile job. I think she can even start her own company and do her own thing. But I don't think she lasts past 2025. But I don't think she is going to be gone at the end of after Indiana Jones. Steph, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think she's gonna go for her contract and then leave. It's not like I think we all feel very similarly about her, that she's like incredibly talented producer, probably like top 5 producers, just so good, but it just isn't meshing. And I can't imagine that for her it's not exhausting either, like the amount of crap she receives, a lot of it is completely outrageous, but I just can't see that being fun at like past a certain point, unless she seems to catch a groove coming out of this Andor show, and maybe the movies in 2025 do really great, or the production coming up until then does good. But I don't see her. She's been with them for so long,
10 years now, and she doesn't. And she doesn't, and that's as president. She's been with him. She's been with George longer than that. But Mike, I can't see her wanting. It's like Game of Thrones, right? It's like I think the reason why she probably wants to stick around is once you're in the throne, it's not something you want to give up, no matter if the people are unhappy or not. You want to stay in that power seat.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of not really caring if she stays or goes. Like, when it comes to producers and stuff like that, people are going to take this whenever she leaves, if it's on her own or whatever, that, we got rid of her. Finally, we got rid of her. It's like, no, she's one of the most successful producers in Hollywood. Yeah. It's kind of like what Walter Mahada did with Disney. He came in and people were upset about him. They didn't like him, this and that.
You mean Warner Brothers, you mean?
Warner Brothers. And Hamada left, and he's already at Paramount. He's Paramount's head now. So it's just like Kathleen's going to go somewhere and the studio will snatch her up because she makes great movies. Yeah. People also bring in, the Chapek thing. I don't even care about the Disney level, what he did and how he handled the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida. He's a terrible person for the company, for the theme parks. My friends and I that work for the theme parks, it goes beyond the TV show. But you got to remember, Iger was in charge of Star Wars with all Solo and all that. That's Iger's stuff. That's not Chapek and all those films. That was Iger.
Yeah, so, Iger made a lot of mistakes as well. I mean, he
didn't have any films out. That might be the problem, that they weren't having films out under Chapek. But the fact that it's going to be coming in magically, it's all going to be better because Iger's back and Kennedy. No, ain't going to change.
So looking at money wise, right? Stock. So what you just said. So Solo was the only one that didn't make $1 billion.
Right.
The rest of them all
made money. The bottom line was there.
Yeah. So he made money. He bought Star Wars. He bought Lucasfilm. He bought Fox. He bought Marvel. He bought Pixar. There's a few more wins than Chapek
but also look at this. Look at Star Wars fandom since 2015. We've never seen it splintered like it has been. And whether you can say it or not, but it is a splintered fandom.
Sure, absolutely.
And that happened better.
It did, and to further your argument, the reconnection, it's gotten stronger since, because Last Jedi was the big separation for sure.
Right.
But it's gotten mended. Yeah. A little bit, not all the way, but mended since under, I think, Chapek's run, right? With
Mando.
I don't know. See, Mando was still Iger though. And Mando was still Iger.
And it's tough to say what Chapek's because he's dealing with the entire company. He's not just focusing
Right.
on
Of
Lucasfilm and
course.
Star Wars.
Right.
So it's tough to say. I think there's good and bad. I think Iger is a phenomenal. What he is an executive is he is a businessman, but he's also knows you need creative people in charge.
Right.
He understands that, and he's a great.
He's a leader. He's a leader.
He is. He's a leader. Chapek was a manager. There's a big difference between those two.
And he said stupid things. And Chapek would say stupid things when even the animation comment that I've been quoting him. Where you heard that thing that he said? Where he's just like, "Oh, the
adults don't watch animation."
Like adults, Disney adults go to once the kids go to sleep. Adults got to have something to watch because you can't watch the animation. It's like, what are you talking about?
Kennedy finishes her contract and moves on.
Yeah,
and I think honestly, they're going to let her. She's going to want to go out on a Star Wars high note, like a film that's loved, that she can kind of.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. I'm out.
Now, with that point being made, that is the only reason why I would say that the report here by John makes a lot of sense, because after seeing that trailer from Indiana Jones and it coming out in June, if it hits the way I think it's going to hit, you hit the shot and you walk off the court, because that's because then if you make anywhere close to 700 800 million, and if it's critically accepted more so than the other one, maybe that's why they say, hey, listen, if this movie hits the way we think it's going to hit and she starts making her move, she's like, I'm gonna hit the shot, walk off. That's why I think it could make. That's why I don't think it's a ludicrous report. I think that it makes a lot of sense if that is the case, because if it bombs, though, they might just get rid of her outright. But it's like,
if Indy 5 bombs, which I don't think it will.
It's not gonna bomb.
It's Mangold.
It's not.
But he's.
The trailer's so good, dude. It's so.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's so good. I cannot wait. It's the other day.
Well, there's been several trailers recently that have been so good, and the films have been so.
I know, but this is Mangold. Mangold knows how to put together a trailer with an accurate representation of his movies. So, either way, I think we're all on the same page that she's gonna stick around until the end of her contract. Although I will not be surprised if she walks off the court after Indiana Jones.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. All right, listen. So that's our report today. Oh, you got this other one, I guess, real quick, but we can. I mean, it's just John Kasdan would return for Solo sequel and wants to see Alden Ehrenreich back as Han Solo, and he acknowledges make Solo 2 happen. It's like, okay, no thanks. I mean, there's just no thanks. It's like, no, nobody really. You and like 70 people want that. It's like, no thanks. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Nah. It's if that's not the move to make when you're trying to build up a new strong.
That idea of the legacy story, I don't think works anymore. We've seen it fail twice, and
it's over. You don't want to do that again and bring somebody back like that, just because there's like a handful of people who really enjoyed it, and God bless them. But it's like that's not going to bring the Star Wars community together. A Solo movie. You got to bring something. You got to bring something else. And Cassian just did. Oh, and he's doing Willow, and I don't know. I'm getting less excited about Willow as it is about to hit. There's no buzz on that show really at all, and it comes out like next week. So I don't know. No thanks to Solo 2, but I don't know. We hear what the audience thinks if they care. I just don't think that's the plan. And the Taika movie, I don't think ever sees the light of day. I'm with Mike on that. I think that it's crazy. We're gonna get a lot of news though in the next like 2 years about all this.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there.
Good holiday, guys.
Yeah, enjoy your break. We'll be back next week. Obviously, we're going to be taking more questions for you guys now that Andor is over. So any comments, please put them out there in the comment section. I will get to them. I will want to hear your thoughts about Andor, about the Kathleen Kennedy situation, about the potential idea of films, all of it. Put it in there. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. And we will see you guys on the flip side, everybody. It is Sith Council for myself, Mike, and Steph. We'll see you next time.
I can feel your anger. It gives you focus, makes you stronger.